last thing we learned was, again, these program are all one sugya. We started out by saying that we have a little problem with the Sefer because it says on the cover page that it's very easy to be an Oved Hashem, to do everything. Very easy. And you ask most people, they'll tell you it's not so easy. Not as easy as you think. But the Torah testifies it's easy, and Sefer Tanya teaches you how it is easy. It'll tell you what to think about to make it very easy. So, in these program, we're focusing on two things, on the two main mitzvahs of the Torah. The 613 commandments. Tariyat, 611 we heard from Moshe Rabbeinu. That's Gematria Torah. The other two we heard from Hashem himself. The first two, Anochi and Lo Yilucha. And Baal Tanya wants to explain that the Anochi and Lo Yilucha are not only the shorish, the foundation of everything, but they really, all the other mitzvahs are part of either one of these two categories. Because you can have a foundation, you can build a building, and you have your foundations on different foundations. The truth is that, I'm going to wear one of these things again.
I have to go. Rabbi, can I just mic you right here?
No problem. So we're saying that out of the Taryag mitzvahs, 611 were heard by Moshe, Torah, and 2 were heard by Hashem. Those are the Anochi Lo Yilucha. Anochi Hashem Lakecha, there's one Hashem. We have to understand what that means. And Lo Yilucha, that there's nothing other than Hashem. And normally, if you ask someone why these are the most important, why do we hear these on Hashem? These are like the foundation mitzvahs, but Baal Tanya takes it one step much deeper. Foundation, we have really 13 foundations. They're called the Yud Gimel Ikrim. Many people have a custom to say it every day. And if one, imagine a whole building, those Yud Gimel Ikrim, the entire structure of your Avodas Hashem, of your life, of your Torah mitzvahs are based on these 13 Ikrim. If you're missing one of them, it's like pulling out the rug, the entire building collapses. It doesn't, a person's a min. There's no excuse in terms of these 13 Ma'amorim. For example, the first one is Ne'eman Moshe Bayu Yisparach Mamsi V'Himsi Kol L'Nitzah Hashem created everything. A guy could go through his whole life, he's some sort of a priest or something, and he comes up to Shema and says, listen, I saw the Bible, I did the whole Kol Torah, I did everything. I just had I was in a different, I was off that day when they talked about that there's one Hashem, and I got a different one. His whole avodah is nothing. It's a little bit of a Zara. Same thing, let's say Tchias HaMesim. A person is an Oved Hashem, does every mitzvah, does 20 verses his entire life. And he believes in Chav Oynish. He learned all the 12 Ikrim, but he missed out that Tchias HaMesim. He didn't realize that's an important thing. His whole foundation collapses. And that's a whole separate discussion. Why is it? It's only reward. Why would that? So you don't have the reward. You do it not for the reward. Why should that be so essential? But I don't want to get into that now. The point is, there are foundations upon which we have Torah, that Moshe Rabbeinu gave us the Torah, and the Chav Oynish, all these things, all the different points in the Yud Gimel Ikrim. So we would also think Anochi Lo Yilucha, one of those Yud Gimel Ikrim. Obviously, you can't do the mitzvahs and follow the Torah if you don't believe in Hashem. If you don't believe in the commander, you don't have to listen to his mitzvahs. So obviously, Anochi is the foundation. But the Baal Tanya explained to us that it's much, much a higher madriga. Not only is this a shorish of everything, but all the Torah mitzvahs, all the Taryag mitzvahs, are put into two categories. They're actually either Anochi Lo Yilucha in a certain way, and any avera that a person does, the rise of the Rabbanon, Al Titosh Torah Simech, even a minute, the person doesn't follow the Ratzon Hashem, in a certain level, which we will see in the next program, it's a bechin of avodah zarah. Not that it's actually because you're doing something not what Hashem wants, not what the Melech Malach Melech commanded you to do. Automatically, that is a bechin of avodah zarah. So he puts everything in one of these two categories. And in the end of perek Beis, we're going to discuss the Sitra Achor, coming in the middle of something, that there are, Hashem made, when He made this world, He made it through Tzimtzum. Hashem hid Himself. So you don't see the open connection of everything to Hashem's chiyas, Hashem's existence. In fact, our job is to break that Hester, to break the Hester. And the last thing I think we learned was that there's two types of hashpah that Hashem made in the world. In order to create a world and put us in it, and give us bechira, we choose good and bad, and for whatever the reasons were, we get either the schar or there's higher reasons in it. The ultimate shleimus of Hashem is when we bring out the shleimus in a place where there's chesaron. So up in Gan Eden there was no chesaron, everything was going well up there. So Hashem had to make a world. You read the L'Sar Chaliyah, He made it in a world which is Olam Lashon Helam, where we see darkness, we choshech, ra, craziness. And in this world, we're supposed to bring back the light. That gives Hashem not only more einig than in Gan Eden. The whole purpose of the Bria was for this, because Hashem can't be truly shalom without being shalom, even in Malkim Choshech. And of course, we see that in the stories that are coming out every day from the Gehenim of Gaza, which is very funny. Any people learning Daf Yomi? So we just had recently the Avayan. Gemara talks about Ben Sarah Myra. When you learn all the Protei Dinim, what is needed for someone to reach the level of Ben Sarah Myra, then Gemara concludes, never existed, and never could exist such a person that could fit in that category, which has so many criteria that it's not possible. And except for one Amar said, no, it is possible, and he saw one. And then the same thing I said with Ir Nidachas, a city that's condemned. And finally, someone says there's also a bias menuga. In the time of the Midbar, the person had a bias, and he had saras. They would, or in Eretz Yisrael, they would have to dismantle the bias. He said that also never happened. And someone said, no, I was in Aza, and I saw a sign of a place. This place was a bias menuga, and it was totally destroyed, Khurban. So it's interesting, they're talking about Khurban and Gaza. But anyway, this world is the tafkid of our world is to bring the kedusha, to find Hashem. So how do you go seek Him? Now, in order for the world to run, we know in order for everything we need energy. Just like the physical world needs energy, nothing could exist without energy. We spoke many times how every atom, everything in the Bria is made up of broken out to atoms. The atoms are constantly moving, because the atoms are basically empty. They're almost all empty. The spin of the electrons is what you feel when you feel the table. There's billions of atoms here, and you feel the fact that it's moving. But the Nefesh Chaim says if it decided to take a break one day, on vacation for 1 minute, and stop, turn off the light, shut off the light, shut off the switch, and now all the electrons stop, the whole world would collapse and wouldn't exist. So our whole physical world is really only based on some force that keeps it going. But Dvar Hashem, Shemayim Nasu, Ruach Piv Kol Tzvam, the Ruach Piv, Hashem's Ruach, it's wind, the movement, the action of the whole Bria comes from a constant shefa from Hashem. Now for Hashem, we have two types of shefa. One that we give out with our panim, and one that we give out with the back of us. In other words, if you want to have a relationship with somebody, you got to look at them. Because when you see them in the face, the panim is the brings out the kesher between, because you're not looking at the face, it's really the neshama. When you talk to somebody, you're talking to his neshama, which is a melubash in the body, but it comes out through the panim.
Well, the panim is the name of the actual, the shurish is within.
Yeah, but it's the let's put it this way, the panim has all the openings to bring out your neshama. Right. Your eyes, all your senses are in the in the face. That's where all these
In contrast,
Zayin Sh'orim are in the head.
in contrast, in English, it's the facade, it's the face.
Yeah.
It's the
Right.
opposite.
Now, let's say you don't like somebody, can't stand him. I can't look at him in the face. So the expression. What does it cost any money? Why can't they look at him in the face? Who cares? You like him, don't like him, because there's a certain sort of a kesher when you look at somebody. But it's not look at a Russia. Really, it was a lot of. I told my kids many years ago that when they had all these, when they have all these terrible pictures and even explode things that we shouldn't see, it affects the neshama. And even watching people do terrible things, it's not something that's good for the neshama to see. The Lubavitch Rebbe years ago came out with when he had a problem with Olamenu. Do you know what about Olamenu? Yeah?
Mendel
It's
the
the
Mouse. What else?
And when we grew up, we got every month a little booklet in the yeshiva with some cartoons.
Yeah.
He didn't like Mendel the Mouse. He said, Mendel the Mouse. Mouse is a not kosher animal. Now you have kids and they're opening up their book and they're looking at a mouse.
They don't eat animal crackers either, right?
What?
Chabad doesn't eat animal crackers.
Unless it depends. They can maybe cows and chickens, they're
Right,
okay.
maybe. I don't think
Yeah.
they eat.
I don't know what they have in
think
there.
Well, if you bite off with the trunk of the elephant.
I don't think so either.
Right. And when you put a teddy bear in the baby's crib, not very excited about that. Better hang. My kids all do that. In fact, going to Brista Shabbos, and the father, just his first son, and he wanted to know where I got those pictures. I used to put pictures of tzaddikim all around the crib, like 30 pictures, all different kinds, so you can go whichever way he wants. So the kid, when eventually he gets to see something, let him start off seeing an Aleph Beis or Shmegedusha, not some stupid whatever things out there. Because everything you see has an impact on the neshama. That's the previous. So Hashem, when Hashem is Yah Panav Eilecha, we're in good shape. That's when we go to Birchas Kahanim. Birchas Kahanim. When I go to Birchas Kahanim, because that's the Sfarim say it every day. So at Birchat Kahanim, then you get connected directly.
You connected what?
You get connected to Rosh Hashem. Chaim Kanievsky used to say, it told us Klugman, what's his name? Klugman, from Washington Heights.
Julius?
What?
Julius.
Who?
Julius?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was a big Askan, and he wanted to put out this little book. I have it at home. It's Sefer on Birchas Kahanim. How really, we always love schoolers. There's school to do this, school to do that. There's one school that beats them all. Well, that's a Hashem school. He says, go to Birchas Kahanim. Va'ani avarchem. Hashem is going to give you the bracha directly. You don't have to go through some tzaddik, some this one, some that one. You get it direct from Hashem. And so Rabbi Klugman went to Rabbi Chaim, and he said he wants to reprint a little sefer that was printed 100 years ago that discusses different types of problems that people have, and which words in the Birchas Kahanim, there's only 15 words in there, each word it helps for a different type of situation. You need a shidduch, you're going through, you want to do a closing on your house, you have this or that. The Midrash Chazal, they're talking about which words of the Birchas Kahanim are good for each thing. So someone put a little sefer together to give a breakdown of for the Kahanim, that somebody wants them to pray for somebody, give a bracha and focus on someone specifically. So Chaim said he wanted to reprint the sefer himself, but he didn't get around to it. Scheitman said the same thing, because I don't know why people come to me for brachas. They fly all from the other end of the world to come for a bracha. They just need to find a shul with Birchas Kahanim, and they got it direct from Hashem. That's the panim. Yashem panim. But Hashem knew that sometimes we mess up in this world. Sometimes the world gets messed up, certain generations get messed up, and we're in no bigger messed up place than now. We see, and yet the world still needs the chiyus of Hashem. But if most of the world, I don't mean the Jewish world, I mean everything in the world, if most of the people in the world are not behaving properly, but Hashem wanted the world to go on for these 6,000 years, hopefully even before. So there has to be a life force, a chiyus that's given to the world, even when it's not acting up to par, because still, otherwise it would collapse. Hashem can stop that flow. So Hashem gave two types of shefa that comes out, that he sends down. One from his panim, for those who deserve it, those who follow the Torah mitzvah to do the Ratzon Hashem, they get the panim. But for those who don't, they get it from the acharayim. That's why when if you have to give someone something, you're forced to give them, you'll throw it over the shoulder, like you don't want to even see him. So the back represents, the back doesn't have, you don't have an idea in the back whether the guy is happy or sad. You don't know anything when you look at the back of the person. So the shef that comes down through the achar, that's to maintain the world, even the things which are menaged to Hashem, the Rishon, even the Avodah Zorah, even the Sitra Achra, all that get their shefa from the Achrayim of Hashem. That's the last
How do you
thing.
know what you get?
What's that?
How do you know what you're getting?
Oh, you'll feel it. You'll feel it when you're doing the right thing. The Neshama recognizes it. So that's why, but even the Sitra Achra and Tumah and Averis and the terrible Averis, they still need chiyas. The Rotzeach, before he pulls that trigger, or blows up the bus, he needs chiyas from Hashem for his hand to do it. So if you look at the Talmud Devar, he goes into the Melech Olav that Hashem has to give his chiyas even to somebody who's doing terrible things. That's coming from the Acharayim. And at that point, they say that the Kedusha, so everything has some aspect of spark, even the Sitra Achra. But the difference is it's in Golus, inside that person. It's hidden, it's not revealed. So this whole physical world, all the evil in this world, all the evil people in the world, are bechina of Elikim Acherim. That's why it's the Avodah Zarah is called Elikim Acherim. They draw from the Achor of Hashem. They're not kofer in Hashem himself. The Gemara says they call Hashem Lakai Lakaya, but they are kofer in the Achdus of Hashem. They believe Hashem made the world, but they believe that they're in control. They're in control of it. They don't have the bittul, so it's as if the presence of Hashem in the world is totally hidden inside of them. And that's the important insight, because the Baal Shem said that, he said a tremendous klal. The world is not a menaged to Avodas Hashem. People think, the physical world and all the draws and the lurings and the asik with this world is holding back from Avodas Hashem. A real Avodas Hashem has to separate himself and sit and learn and do mitzvahs, and the more he separates from the world, the higher level he can get. Says the Bashant of the opposite. That's the opposite. The highest madrigas one reaches, that the world is not a menaged to Hashem. The world is only a cover. It's all a cover-up. But it's covering up the etzem gili of Hashem. Our job is to reveal, to remove the helam, and bring, even in the Ra, you can find the type. In the Choshech, you can find the Ra. And that's why they're called the Elikim Acherim, because they have that bechina of being that chutzpah of saying that the God's Saruach, that's like a Avodah Zarah. And that's where we left off. That was Chav Beis. Now we're starting perek Chav Gimel, and we're going to learn like this. There's two things that we have in Avodas Hashem, Torah and mitzvahs. And the mitzvahs, they both connect us to Hashem. How do we remove that helam? What are we supposed to do? So,
What's the difference between Torah and mitzvahs?
Wait for that question. When we finish Chav Gimel, you won't have that question anymore.
Okay.
Maybe before that. But first, it's a Talmud Torah connected Kulam, right?
I thought that would imply that includes the mitzvahs.
There's two aspects of Torah.
Okay.
There's an aspect of the Dibar Tabam, speaking Torah, and really for Kima Torah you're supposed to speak,
Right.
because the hevel that comes out is all the mitzvahs are like markups around you, and then there's a mitzvah of Yediyas Torah, which is in the mind, which is internal. So the aspect of Torah, I don't know if it's over here, we learned it earlier. Mitzvahs are markup. Mitzvahs surround you. Like a lavush. Mitzvahs are called lavushim. Where do you put your garment? You put it around you, outside of you. The Torah is the mazim. The food which goes inside, is internalized. Torah, we take the connection to Hashem and we internalize it. Wholly different level. What's the first word that we heard from Hashem? Anybody know? First word. On Hasinai. Easy.
Anoichi.
There you go. Anachi. Anachi actually isn't even a Hebrew word. I think I said it once, right?
Egyptian?
Yeah, Egyptian word. But the first word we heard from Hashem was not even Hebrew, Egyptian.
That works with Moshe too. Then. We call it Moshe, no?
Which is a Pella, because he grew up in Paro's palace, and the name that was given to him reminded that this is the guy that was in the water that Paro was so nervous about, that the Mashiach he saw would come from the water. So in his name, that was part of Hashem's joke. But the Anoichi, whenever you write a book, the custom is you have to put in the beginning, they give some remez, or in the name of the book, it's merames to the gematria of the person. Again, in one of my books I wrote, Baruch Hu, it's gematria, my name, my father's name. You always find a connection. Hashem also gave us a book. He gave us the Eser Dibros. First he gave us the Eser Dibros. So, Anoichi, the Gemara says, his Rosh Tevas is 4 words. Ana, nafshi, kosvis, yahavis. Aleph, nun, chaf, yud. I, my soul, I injected in the Torah. When you learn the Torah, you're taking Hashem he put himself in the words of the Torah. So if you take Torah, you take a piece of Torah and you learn it, you put it in your mind, you're grabbing Hashem. Hashem you can't touch. But when he was mitzamsim himself, he restricted and put himself in the Torah. Now when you take the Torah, you're connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to his ratzon, what he wanted. And like we're talking about the Gemara with the Ben Saramar or the Yonidachas, these things never happen, never will happen. So the Gemara asks, if that's the case, why don't we just spend 2 daf learning about what situations you could be Ben Saramar? If it's never happened or never happened, why are we learning that? And the reason is because we're not learning it just for the halacha l'maisa. We're learning to know what is Hashem's thought process. If such a thing would occur, what would the Ratzon Hashem be? What would the Chachma be? So when we're learning Torah, we're going to see, he'll explain in much more detail what the difference between the yichud, the connection of Hashem when we learn Torah versus mitzvahs. Now doing mitzvahs is also tremendous. And he gives examples that we have with our neshama, with our body. There's some mechina, it's called, it starts off in perek Chav Gimel. We call this called Le'el, Yuvan, V'yavu, Hativ, but the Seves B'yah Masham, B'zayah, the rights of a Kutshabichu Kulachad. As I explained, that the Torah and Hashem are one. Hashem invests himself in the Torah, it's even a song. And Uperishu, B'tikudim Perishu, the Ramach Pekudim, and Ramach in and Ramach Evor in the Malka. That the mitzvahs, the 240 mitzvahs I say, they're like the Evorim to the Melech. They're like a Evorim to the Melech. Each, just like we have 248 body parts, each part is connected to a different aspect. And now, Evorim, mitzvahs are compared to the body, to the neshama. Are the body and the neshama one? No, they're not one. 2 separate things. You have a hand, and you have the neshama that keeps the hand going. It is machaya the hand. They really remain. They're separate entities, but then mesache. They're united one with another. You can't have for your hand to function, it has to have the neshama inside of it. So it's like a varum. It's not one with the neshama, but it's connected with the neshama.
Easy to connect them.
What's that?
It's like an easy connector.
Right. And those are the machevav, so ever to the melech. So the mitzvahs, the fish, mitzvahs saying pnimis rotzon elam b'chav se'amiti, hamlubish b'chol olam es oyod v'tatom la'yosam. There's actually 3 levels. One is a makava. We'll see what makava is. One is a varum melech, a varum, which is the mitzvahs, and the last one is the din of Torah. 3 different things. The makava is that everything a person does is focused on what's in Hashem. That was a very madrega that Avos reached, and tzaddikim for the generations. There were some tzaddikim that reached that level, where every move they made was only made because that was the what's in Hashem and Shemayim. Like a makava. What's a makava? A wagon. A wagon doesn't do anything. It's just the guy who's driving it, or your car. You put it on and you hit the pedal and it goes. You're the guy behind it. You're driving it. So too, their whole life and their whole body was covered to the Ratzon Hashem. We learned that by the Akedah when it says Yishach Yadai, that Avram extended his hand to take the knife by the Akedah. So Rashi says, why do you have to extend his hand? I mean, Yikach was Mechaz, took the Mechaz. So his hand took the Mechaz because the Avos, all their body parts were totally bottled to the Ratzon Hashem. Now his hand knew or felt that this was not the Ratzon Hashem to go Shech Yitzchak. So he had to actually pull his hand to do it because his hand on its own was totally subservient to Hashem. He had to take his hand and now go against what it was. So very few people can reach that level where they can say every single thing in their life is totally doing what Hashem. That's a makava. But still,
So
a
what part
makava.
of him was not that was able to push his hand?
What's that?
What part of him was not in that way that it went ahead and pushed the hand?
The mind.
Mm-hmm.
The mind is still the control center of your body. Your foot may want to go that way, and you tell, listen, I'm not going there, I'm going this way. So the mind controls everything. So that's the level of Merkava, a bittul to Hashem, but the Merkava and the person are two separate things. Then you have a closer type of yichud when a person does a mitzvah. A person does a mitzvah, tzav sevechibah, he's connected much more to the Ratzon Hashem. Hashem wants you to do something. Wants you to put on tefillin on your hand. So when you put tefillin on your hand, it's like the hand and the neshama inside of it. It's much more connected than your car out parked on the street and the driver. It's much more unified. And then there's the unification that we have through Torah, which is the ultimate level, which is greater than we will see through learning than the highest olamas. So he says like this. Why does Hashem want the world? Why? Because He wants us to do the mitzvahs. And all the chef of the world, Hashem put us in charge after He created man, created Adam, and ultimately gave that tafkid over to Am Yisrael when they messed up in the first Doros. And our tafkid is to be the channel to bring in all the chef of the Bria. If we would stop for one moment and not do the mitzvahs or not learn, the world would not be able to continue to exist. There always have to be people doing mitzvahs and people learning. That's why we have kol chatzos, which I have to go to in another hour. So some people are asleep, other people have to get up. Anyway, it's Chodesh, so we have to say a joke. So there's once a guy that he would come to shir, and he would always fall asleep. Some people find it's much better. They can have a hard time fall asleep at home, so they come to a shir. This way they fall right asleep. It's even better than the bed. But one day the Rebbe went to the guy and goes, every day in shir you're sleeping. What do you do at night? So, that's easy. I chazer over the shir. Anyway, getting back to the levushim over here. I don't know how I got to that. Okay, so just like the levush, as soon as a person wants to do something, his hand or want to walk somewhere, it goes through a whole process, but you don't have to think. It's instant. You want to go. At that point, your perek chamaisa brings out the ratzon that you have, and when you do them at that specific point, your hand is a makabel. You put on tefillin. At that moment, the kedusha is installed, is invested in your hand. It's a higher level than the neshama and the guf, because now you bring down the ratzon Hashem who wants you to do the mitzvah, and you are now following. You're like a roichev. You like the rechav. You like the mekava, and you should know that the madrega that a person does or has when he does a mitzvah is much greater than the chef, than the gili alakus in the highest alamis. In other words, let's say you think we're in Olam Asiyah, there's Yitzira, Bria, Atzilus, all the highest Olamas, and the higher you get, the less of the Helam. It's more, everything's more revealed. There's the difference between the worlds. It's the Shem Hashem shining all over. It's the same sun, the Dugma. But you can have different Mesachim, blocks, shields, shades, sunglasses that block the light. But the light doesn't change. But higher up, there's less shields, so there's more Gililikos. The ones who are down at the bottom, which we are in Olam Asiyah, when we do a mitzvah in this world, our connection to Hashem is so much greater than in the higher, than the Gan Eden and the highest Elamas, that it's a whole different world, which will explain how be'ein orach. It's not even in comparison to the level that when people are in a room, we're in a room, we have a minyan. As soon as you have a minyan, you have the Shekhinah Shrui B'neihem. So in Perek Chav Gimel in the fourth section of the Tanya, Gersa Kodesh, same chapter over there, it says that when 10 people are in a room and do a mitzvah, even if they don't do a mitzvah, the Shekhinah is there, the presence of Hashem is so powerful that they would disintegrate if they were there in the room. They couldn't survive. They couldn't exist. So the Kedusha that we have, and when we're learning, the Kedusha right now in this room, way out, is way greater than Olam Atzilus, which is all Elikus, which the godliness is open, is much greater over here. So the question is, how do we survive? If the Malach can't survive in this room, we can't invite a Malach to come to the shir. How is it that we're all sitting here and we don't have any problem with this? The answer is because we don't see it, because we don't notice it, it's no problem. Because if we would feel it, we wouldn't be able to exist. It would be too powerful. Hashem took away in Olam Hazeh our ability to feel it so that we could do the mitzvahs. For example, if you walk out and it's a beautiful day, you want to sit in the sun, you want to look at the sun, you have to put on sunglasses. But you only put on sunglasses on your eyes. You don't put it on your nose or on your ears. They're also looking at the sun. But they're not kalim. They're not kalim to receive this. They don't look at the light. So they don't need a block. So it's only someone that has shaykhs to the sun, like the eyes, they can see the sun. They need the shield. They can handle such a big arm. But if they're not, they don't have any perception at all, there's no problem. So therefore you can find a mosquito flying around in the king's palace or around the king, because it doesn't know that this guy is the king or not the king, or he's in the palace. He's a fly. What does he know? A person, you bring a person before the melech, he's totally lost. He's shaking like a lulav. There's once we give the mashal. There was once a king that wanted to put a beautiful crown designed, and he picked a certain kind of jewel that he wanted, a crown jewel to be put in. And he took his best jewelers, and each one of them couldn't do the job because they had so much pachad, they were so terrified of the king that their hands were shaking. So what did they do? They ended up pegging the crown with the jewel, and they went out to some far out place to some guy that never know there's a king, and didn't know what the crown is. That was, I need you to do this and put this in here, and he was able to do it because he had no idea of what this was. So too, when we do a mitzvah, we don't feel it. So we can put on a mitzvah and we can bring down all that kedusha that the highest lamas don't have such a light, but because it's hidden from us, therefore, like the chamor of Bilam was able to, his eyes were opened up, and Bilam didn't see what the chamor was able to see. You have to perceive the kedusha. If you don't perceive it, then it can exist. That's what it says. Chacham Adaf Menavi. Moshe Rabbeinu was the greatest of the Nevi'im, one of the Yudim Likrim. But his Nevuah only reached a certain level. We learned about the 10 spheres in each Olam. There's the 10 spheres of Olam Atzilus. The highest level that Moshe Rabbeinu, the highest Navi, was able to reach was in the lowest spheres of Olam Atzilus, and that's the height of Olam Atzilus. Not higher than that. And Svarim asks, one second, that's the highest that Moshe Rabbeinu, Rabbi Shekol Yisrael, the greatest Navi, was only able to reach that level of Kedusha, and yet we can open up a Tanya. We can learn about not only the whole Olam Atzilus, but other Kadma Hayim Atzilus and Ein Sof, and the Sof Kolam, and Hayim Madregas, and we're learning it sitting back, drinking a coffee, Soid Hashem, and it doesn't faze us, because we're not margish it. Because we're not margish it, so too the Chacham, the Navi, what's a Navi? He's there, he feels it. It's the highest level that a human being could reach. And that's a part of Olam Atzilus. Above that, he can't be a person anymore. Even that level, you have to be half Malach, half person. Ishul Kim, Moshe Rabbeinu. But a Chacham, he knows things, but he's not totally connected to it, that he actually feels it, so that he can learn even higher Madregas. So, that's the Mila of that's the Indian of mitzvahs. When we do mitzvahs, that we are kosher and yuchad with the Bari Yisbarach. And but as we said, Torah on the other hand is even a high madrega. Why? Because the actual Torah is what Hashem's thoughts are, what He wants. That this is what Hashem wants. That this should be mutter, this should be usher. We take Hashem at a totally different level. It says in the, let's see, where we're going to go over here. I'm saying this outside, so I want to say the words inside because they're beautiful. Okay, we said like this, that the mitzvahs are levush pnimi. Oh, it's okay. When a person does mitzvahs, then he's like the Ever of the Melech. Just like the body of the person is levush to his neshama. And the hands, unless the person has a problem, everything follows what his mind wants. Whatever he wants, that's what his body does. He wants to stretch out his hand. They take him yad. They listen to him. They're totally obedient, instantly. Believe Shem Tzivi. I mean, you don't have to tell him. Okay, I want the hand to take this pen. It does it without it. You don't even have to tell it. Believe Shem Shia Klal. There's no delay. As soon as you want to do something, instantly it does it. That's the connection between the Ivarim and the words of Hashem. When the chiyus of the mitzvahs. Now the mitzvahs have two parts to it. You can take an esrog, and there's certain chiyus to make it into an esrog. It can't be an esrog if it doesn't have certain koyach, as we mentioned, shefa that keeps it going. We're not talking about that. We're talking about when we now make a bracha and turn it into a mitzvah, then it goes from being something in olam hazeh, a physical thing, and goes something that's greater than the highest of all, greater than Gan Eden. Which again, one of the reasons why I could tie that in. Why one year Gemurkim is Tchiyas HaMesim? What's so important about Tchiyas HaMesim? Because the people don't know this, but Olam Haba is only a temporary place. Olam Haba is the world after Olam Hazeh. A guy lives in Olam Hazeh. He lived 500 years ago. Then he leaves this world, so he has to go somewhere. So he goes to Olam Haba, the world that comes after this world. For him, for the guy who lived 500 years ago, Olam Haba was back then. He went up to the next world. That was a temporary holding place. The ultimate world is down here. This is what Hashem made, the Shlemus. If not for the Chet on the Rishon, we would be here forever, and we will be here forever as soon as the Gula comes, Hayyim becomes Shmo, and when Mashiach comes and the Tchiyas HaMesim begins, they will all come back to be in this physical world. And the reason is because the ultimate kedusha, the highest kedusha, could only come down in a keli that could hold it, and there's nothing greater than the gashmias could hold that highest level. So when you take the esrog again now and make a bracha, make a mitzvah out of it, now it becomes a tremendous or. Just like the body to the neshama. So to Gili of Hashem And when you're doing a mitzvah with an item, it becomes totally united with it. Not one. It's still the esrig and it's still the hand and it's the yad of a person, but it's united. It's misached. By Torah, we'll see it becomes one on a different level. And not only the avarm of the person, but levush chitzon shel nefesh l'kish shabadam hamakayim v'oisem mitzvah shukar b'chis ha'ma'aseh shaloi lahu maslamish b'chiyas shel ma'aseh mitzvah nazik gam ken keguf l'neshama v'oisem elyon u'batul avagam. We learned in the beginning of Tanya that we are made up of different layers. We have inside of us two neshamas. Each neshama has a seichel, a midas, and also has two ways to express itself: levushim, machshava, our thoughts, our dibur, speech, or ma'aseh, action. These are ways our neshama reveals itself. And so when you do a mitzvah, you're not only connecting your neshama to the mitzvah, but also the levushim are also getting connected together. And they're all part of this process. When you do a mitzvah, it's not just your neshama connecting to Hashem, your physical body gets that connection too. That's how it's so important. To kakafta loiman of tefillin, to make sure people put on tefillin even once in their life. Because it's no longer a body that didn't have that tefillin on them. And like the hand that gives tzedakah to aniyim, it's a different hand. It's now the hand itself has injected the kedusha. The Rambam has a machlokes whether when one does tzedakah, which is better.
It removes like a proverbial arelis almost.
In what?
It's like removing a proverbial arelis almost.
A proverbial.
Arelis.
Yeah.
Meaning similar to if somebody eats, let's say.
Of course.
Sure. It's on Pesach. It's like whatever it means.
Yeah. But it's we don't perceive it yet. When when we'll be able to, when the screen will be lifted, then we'll be able to see that kedusha. One of the reasons we don't have that level is because there's a tumah in the world. We don't realize the tumah. Tumah tahara is something we learn, but we don't really have any understanding of it. We wrote to Mason. There was one person that stood out that didn't have that tumah was removed from him for a period of time, and for a short period of time. And that was the Arizal. And it's interesting that you look out through the whole history from time of Tanam and Amoram till now. You don't find anybody that stands out like the Arizal. He was an Achwain, he wasn't a Rishon, he wasn't a Tano or Moira or Goyin. He was really Achwainim. But this Neshama had something unique that you don't find anywhere, to the point that you really don't find anyone really arguing with everyone tries to grab him. The Svardim, the Litvisha, Goyin, the Hasidim, Kamad, all groups. Anything that Arizal said, if we understand what he said, because a lot of things we got to know through the Talmidim, if we really knew what the what his shita was, we would follow it. Like Rabbi Kiva says, a love to Shmon, like another. Only by he said it on the Arizal, a love to Shmon. You have to listen to him. What was so different about the Arizal? The Commander Rebbe says that Arizal had learned with Eliyahu for 10 years, Eliyahu Navi, and he actually gave him for a little bit from the Efa Parah Aduma to remove his tumah. And once that was removed, the perception that Arizal had, that this young Arizal, who only lived to 38 years old, had in the whole world, in the whole Bria, in the whole Torah, was something that was so extraordinary that is, cannot find anybody that could argue with Arizal. There's no such thing. Even though you find Tanom arguing with one another, Namarim and Rishonim and Achoim. But Arizal was in a different category because he had a perception of the world that nobody else had. I mean, after the Churban Abayis. That's going to happen when Mashiach comes. The cloud of Tumah will be lifted, and all of a sudden we can see the world will be the way it is, but we'll see the Kedusha in a whole different level. We'll see how that hand, as I will end with this, that they were saying that the hand that does the mitzvah, so there's a machlokes and which is better, tzedakah a call if you roiv hamaisa or if you got hamaisa. Let's say you have $1,000 you want to give out on Purim. Purim is not a good example because you got to give to everybody. Stop, you have $1,000 you want to give a donation. Is it better to give a donation to one guy? Give it to one other, you're going to make his whole day. You have to pay his electric bills, bring some food in for Shabbos. Or do you take that $1,000 and you break it up into tens, and every guy in shul that comes, you give him a $10 bill, they'll also be happy. But not like the guy who gets $1,000. Which is better?
Is it one Maisa or is it more than one? Or is it multiple? Is it?
Obviously, if you're giving 1,000, you're giving one Maisa.
No, you can give it.
The Roiv HaMaisa means that the more you give, the higher much you get. For example, there's 4 lamas. If you give $1, you're not on Masiyah. Give $10, the Ben Ish Chai says this, you're not on Yitzirah. Give you $100, you get up to on Bria. If you get $1,000, give $1,000, you're part of Soy Alofim, you're not on Matzilas. If you give 10,000, you're in Kesser, by an hour, even higher. The amount that you give, the amount of tzedakah you give, gives you a high level. So the greater the nedava, the higher level you get to in the lamas. However, for regarding the hand itself that does the mitzvah, giving that one time $10,000 is nothing in comparison. The hand itself gets much more connection to kedusha by giving 1,000 times instead of one time 1,000.
You see,
I'll
that's
call
why
for
they-
Godel HaMaisa.
where
Why the
they gave
Godel HaMaisa?
$1 bills.
Yes.
So it just keeps
Yeah.
it as
By
money.
the way, I mixed up. I'll go for Godel HaMaisa is the Eichus, and Roiv HaMaisa is the Kamas. So the Godel, I'll call for Godel HaMaisa, the greatness. How great is your check? How big is it? That will reach different levels. How much you do it affects you. So there's 2 ways of looking at something. What it accomplishes in the world, the mitzvah, of course, a $10,000 donation to one charity or one person is going to be pull much more. You'll turn the guy's life around much more than if you give the guy a dollar bill.
So what is the actual purpose? Is it to have a ticket on yourself, meaning you're each Maisa, or is it to actually have this far-reaching ability?
The ikar is the Hakol for Roiv HaMaisa. Our job is to refine our body.
Right. So then.
So this way,
So even if it is not reaching as high.
right.
Isn't Gadol Maisa included in the Rebbe Maisa? You're giving the same $1,000. Why does
No.
it not count?
No, doesn't.
Why?
There is a shita that holds that eventually it adds up. So by then, when you get to the 1,000,
Right.
it adds up.
But why wouldn't it?
But
What's his story now?
look at the makabel. It depends who you look at. The mashpir, the makabel. The one is receiving.
There's
no one
receiving.
receiving- Right. The pool you're going to do, the impact that you do, the organization that's going to get $1 million check is going to be able to do a lot more than if you give it $1. If 1,000 people give $1, one guy gives $1. So
Sounds like an accounting.
well, it really just looks at what is the purpose of the mitzvahs. The purpose of the mitzvah is to refine ourselves. The main purpose of the mitzvah is to refine ourselves. Hashem gave the mitzvah to elevate our body, to purify, to refine it. The more we do a mitzvah, each time we do a mitzvah, our hand is not the same. Our guf, whatever we're using, it's misached with Hashem at that moment. There's nothing like it. Even though we don't perceive it, we keep on doing it, and eventually. I think I'm going to stop over here. We're in the middle of the perek, but there's a lot more to talk about. And we should be zocher that we should, it says that Purim, one of the holidays that will always be remain. Why? Why not all the other Yom Tovim? All the Yom Tovim have to do with Golas. Sukkot, we came out, we ended up in the Sukkot, Mitzrayim. When Mashiach comes, we're going to realize that all those things they were all part of the divine plan. They're all good. There's no reason to celebrate getting out of Mitzrayim when you realize the Mitzrayim itself was. But Purim is exactly that, removing the Helam, seeing in the world that is the Gila that was in the Helam. So that will remain because that's the whole job of Lasi Lava, to lift up that screen. Be sorry for that. As we read each day the new events that happen, you just have to sit back. There's no greater Purim story than what we're observing right now. And be sorry for Hashem remove all the Halamas and try to do Gula b'Mehera.
Great.
Amen.
This